So, had a bit of a tough week this week because Jake was 18 this week and I didn't get to celebrate his 18th with him. Had all these plans in my head. We were going to celebrate his 18th and it didn't happen. I couldn't give him a hug or I don't know, whatever. And then, of course, all the news came out about the new roadmaps that we have from now till kind of August. And a lot of information to take in and a certain level of uncertainty, and maybe I was feeling a bit down in the mouth. So I thought I'd give my good friend Dr Paddy Mallon, who's head of infectious diseases in Vincent's and a lecturer in UCD, I thought I'd have a chat with him about the roadmap and where we're at and how we've done so far, and masks and many other things. At the end of it, as always, I felt much better, and I hope you are taking care of yourself and you're feeling much better too. So this is that chat. Take care of each other and be safe. Where do you see we're at now? You know, we've kind of heard what Taoiseach and other people have said, but like from a medical practitioner standpoint, where do you think we're at? You know, what do you see?
We're still at that sort of inflection point where you like we are on a path to emerging, and we're over the worst, provided that the pathway out is well managed. Everything is going to be in cycles of 2 weeks. So you're going to be doing something, then you're going to be sitting back for 2 weeks going, is it working? Is it working? Is it working? Is it working? And then you'll be able to go, yes, it's working. And then you move on to the next thing. The plan that everyone bought into back on the 11th of March has got us to where we are now.
Which is in a good place, right?
Which is in a really good place. And that's why, okay, there's been a whole load of deaths, but it could have, like there's no doubt about it, it could have been a huge amount worse.
Yeah.
An awful lot worse. I think people get it, right? They get that the social distancing thing is here for a while, and it's nearly become part of everyone's psyche. We've all been conditioned into this.
Paddy, when you say a while, what's a while? A while to me is Christmas, and then a while is 2023.
So it's here until there's two things that can happen, right? You can show that you've eradicated the virus, just like New Zealand have done.
Explain that to me, what New Zealand did though.
New Zealand, what they did was they cocooned the whole country. So they stopped anyone coming into the country who wasn't a New Zealand citizen, right? And then for the cases that were in the country, they did really aggressive testing. So they identified all of the cases that they could, tested all of the cases, followed up all of the contacts, and quarantined them. And within two weeks, or 2 cycles of 2 weeks, because this thing runs in 2 weekly cycles, they were able to eradicate the virus very quickly.
What scares me is I hear this term is used the whole time, and it's the new norm. That's what everyone keeps saying, the new norm. And I'm thinking, what if I don't want the new fucking norm? What if I like the old norm? Like, I suppose for some people, we're kind of, when do we get back to, a world where we, you hug people and that's kind of gone for a while.
But if you just say, if you're sitting in New Zealand right now and you're sitting in a country that has no coronavirus and it's eradicated the coronavirus from the country, then why wouldn't you go and visit your mum and dad, and why wouldn't you hug people or hug your friends, your close friends? Because there's that level of trust that you're working within an environment that there is no virus. Ask me that question in 4 weeks. Because May the 18th, they're talking about relaxing these restrictions so that you can actually interact with people that aren't within your household, right? Which will be interesting. If that's going for a couple of weeks and there's no movement on the background cases of virus, then that suggests that social interaction is safe.
Yeah.
In where we are at the moment, it's safe. So that's your path, is just taking one step at a time, making sure that you're safe, giving yourself that reassurance, giving yourself that confidence, and then you move on to the next step.
It's just the information, Paddy. If I took you for a walk up a mountain, and you don't know where the top of the mountain is, it's very hard to motivate yourself after a couple of hours. You're like, Jesus Christ, where the fuck is the top of this mountain? And I think people feel a little bit like that. It's the not knowing. It's okay, I did phase A. Like now I'm hearing, another, 18th, and then these different stages. But when the stages are explained to you, I think it's easier for you to motivate yourself to
to truck on, isn't it? And that's what we have to do. Is just
because you have to be able to buy into a plan, and to be able to buy into a plan, you've got to know what the plan is. And I think what was probably happening up until the weekend was the people had bought into this. People have bought into the whole social distancing and the whole restriction and the whole, let's flatten the curve, let's do this. And they bought into it and it worked, right? But there was that gap where there was a little bit of frustration was starting to creep in, because people were saying, okay, well, we've done this. What's the plan?
Mm.
And I think a big help has been what they released at the weekend, which was the plan, this roadmap, because now instead of everyone saying when's this going to end, they're now saying things like, oh, the hairdressers are going to open in July or June, and the creches are going to open in July, and at least they know the kids aren't going back to school in September. There's a degree of certainty around things now that there wasn't before, and that degree of certainty gives people something to aim towards, and that's what you need.
We're not really going to see a vaccine for how long, would you say?
So things can happen.
Are we on the right road to finding a vaccine?
I think we're just far too early. Things can happen really, really quickly. Okay, this is what you need for a vaccine, right?
Yeah.
First up, you need something that's the vaccine injection needs to induce your body to create an antibody. So that's the very first thing. You need to be able to detect these antibodies. The second thing is that the antibodies have to actually be able to work to kill the virus. That's the second thing you need to determine. Then the third thing is that if they protect you against if they kill the virus, will they actually protect you against the disease? Because even that's different. Okay, so you got to show that it has protective immunity, it's called. And then the fourth thing you got to show is it safe? Then the fifth thing that you've got to be able to do is, can I produce this in enough quantity to get it where it needs to be? Okay, and we're at step one of those 5 steps
Globally.
Okay, so and it's just to sort of put it in perspective.
Yeah.
And that's why I was getting a bit frustrated a few weeks ago, because a lot of people were saying, oh, we're going to be doing this we're going to be doing this to some degree until we get a vaccine. And I was thinking to myself, that's the plan.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, I'm not going to sit here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like that could be, and all of these things are all uncertain. I was thinking, that can't be the plan, because you can't build a plan around so many different uncertainties. And that's why I'm glad that there's less talk about that. There's hope about vaccine, and I think everybody sincerely hopes for a vaccine, but it's not our plan. Yeah. Our plan is what we're doing at the minute, and it's well laid out, well structured, and it's ambitious.
Tell me this: if I've had the COVID antibodies, what does that mean? Like,
we don't know. Because if you think about the vaccine, the vaccine induces the antibodies. The infection can induce the antibodies. We don't know if the antibodies that you get after an infection are protective or not. We don't know how long they hang around for. We don't know how effective they are. We don't even know if what's being picked up on an antibody test is what's going to give you any protection. So there's a whole load of unknowns there. No real evidence that there was protective immunity against this infection. And yet people were talking about this as if it was going to be a policy. And again, bonkers. Like, seriously, you're not going to sit and have people locked down until they get herd immunity, because you don't know how long that's going to take. You don't know if it's going to work or not. So again, not really something that you'd be hinging a big policy decision on.
Tell me this, and we kind of briefly touched on it, and then we veered off. The mask situation at the moment. Should I be wearing masks? Where should I buy them? Or should I not? Do I not need them right now? Or am I,
I think the whole mask thing will be coming along, and there is going to be an element of common sense involved in it. Like, common sense there's a big portion of this is common sense. Social distancing and physical distancing is what's got us here, not masks. Okay, And I think that's how important and how effective social distancing is. And until we're out of this, until we're declaring that this virus is eradicated, social distancing, physical distancing has to remain. But where you can't do that, then it makes sense to wear a mask.
We've spoken at these different stages throughout this kind of since it began. So, and the only way I get through the days is to just go, okay, for the next 3 weeks, this is the roadmap, right? And just to follow it as we go along. So just for anyone who's unsure, the roadmap for the next 3 to 4 weeks is what, Paddy? Is what way should we be conducting ourselves?
So from this week, we're getting a bit more release from this 2 kilometer thing. So they're allowing people to go out to 5 kilometers. They're also saying that the likes of my mum and dad, they're saying that from Tuesday they can go for a drive. Then they're going to wait for until the 18th of May. So it's not 3 weeks, a couple of weeks. Now I think the 18th of May. What I'm hoping anyway is that the reason they're waiting to the 18th of May is that they can get this testing bit sorted out and up and running, so that by the time the proper restrictions start to be lifted on the 18th of May, that in parallel, they'll be able to monitor it. They'll be able to offer people who have any symptoms testing, fast turnaround time in your test. So then from the 18th of May, what you're going to start seeing is people getting back into work. And they'll work through that gradually. It'll not be a big mass return to sardines on the Lewis. Mm-hmm. But there'll be people back to work. Things like construction, the sorts of jobs where it's relatively easy to physically distance. They're going to get the construction guys back into work, which is going to be really important. And then they'll do that sort of stuff for 3 weeks, watch it. And then the following 3 weeks, they'll relax things a bit more. Maybe it'll go out to 20K that we'll be able to travel around. We'll be able to mix with each other. So, for example, I could come around to your house. Myself and Kieran, you and Tanya could sit and, hang out for the afternoon.
Yeah.
Small groups.
Which is a huge thing,
massive,
right?
Yeah,
it's a massive thing.
And it's going to be really massive for the kids, because the kids are going to be able to go and see their mates in small groups. The lads are going to, the girl, they're all going to be able to go out. For example, UCD might put their pitches up again, and they'll be able to go out in small groups and kick a ball about. Those sorts of things that are really, really important socially. If we don't follow the roadmap, or any of that part of it, that testing part, for example, isn't working efficiently, or any part of this doesn't work well, or just say a certain group of people decide that they're not playing ball, it could ruin it for everybody. So, it is, all of the pieces of the jigsaw need to be in place, and everyone needs to stick with a plan. If we do that, the minor hiccups that happen here or there that will happen, we'll be able to cope with them. If by August everything has worked well, we'll not be all jetting down to Marbella for summer holidays, put it like that. Yeah. But we'll definitely be in a position in August, if it all works well, that within our own, we'll be able to enjoy Ireland for the summer.
So for the next 2 weeks or so, it's just nothing really changes. To go for a little bit of a longer walk. Our mums and dads and people like that, they can get out a bit more. We still socially distance in just the exact same way as we have been. Nothing really changes in that regard. Yeah. But hopefully in 2 or 3 weeks' time, things might start to look.
That's it. The 18th of May is where we should be kicking in, and starting this big experiment, this big let's get out of COVID experiment. When I go home, I consider myself contaminated until I've had a shower and changed clothes, and I don't hug any of the kids. So none of the kids get a hug. No one gets anything until I've got in, get showered, because then I can consider myself to be safe and I'm back in my safe environment. What we need to do at a country is to create a safe environment that's at a country level.
I say this every time we chat. I feel better once I have a bit of light on it. Do you know what I mean? Once I know, look, this is what stage I have to get to. This is where I need to bring my family to. This is the right thing to do. And if we keep doing what we've been doing, and even to hear you say you're amazed at how well it's gone, because it's exactly what you said from day one, and people have kind of done that.
When we sat down that first day, I never thought that we'd be sitting in this position. Never. So it is amazing, and it's an amazing testament to the power of the community in this. And I think that community bit needs to just drive our way out of this
So
alongside.
you're surprised by how well it's gone so far?
I'm
up to
amazed.
here? Wow.
Absolutely amazed.
But listen, Paddy, look, thanks a million for your time again. You're a gentleman.
No worries, mate.
I'll
I'm
chat
here.
to
We'll
you
catch
soon.
up soon. Hopefully, face to face.
I'd love that. I'd fucking love that. Someday.
Maybe the next one.
It'd be great, wouldn't it? That'd be brilliant. Yeah, brilliant. All right, Paddy, look, thanks a million, man. Talk to you soon.
Take care, Baz.
Bye, mate.